Please help me welcome our guest of honor. You know her, it's Dr. Beverly Crusher. Please help me welcome Gates McFadden.
Bonjour. And listen, you know, it's fine if you want me to do a voicemail for your mother. Things like, you know, as many questions as you want. If you want me to do a, no, I'm just.
I was like, oh.
Always follow the rules. Well, hello. So how many of you are going to be standing in line for George Takei photo op coming up here? I just want to know how many are going to be, you know, trickling out. Well, hello, Louisville. Lexington. Oh, I know some people. But before I start, if you don't mind, is there anyone named Zach here today? Okay. He told me he was going to be here. The bastard didn't show up. Okay.
If he shows up, we boo him.
Zach
right?
told me yesterday he had the most important question to ask me, and I said, Zach, save it for the panel. I'm sorry, it was going to be the most important question, too. It's the one I had never answered before, but I guess too bad, sorry.
You said it correctly, right? Like Louisville, right?
Louisville, wait.
Louisville. I've heard some of our guests say Louisville, and I got super worried for them. Like, this is the type of crowd that's going to shake you in the back for saying Louisville, right?
Yeah.
See? But, oh, there's like 5 ways to pronounce it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's scary. So, but yeah, so...
I want to know what are the other ways? Louisville?
No.
No. Okay. Yeah, all right. Well, I know, Louisville. Yeah, all right.
So, but yeah, you told me backstage that one of the reasons why you took this convention...
Oh, now wait, now stop. Okay, yeah. That was just between us.
...was so that you could see your baby boy.
Yeah, well, okay. Baby boy, yes, who's 6'3", but yes, always my baby boy, but yes, he's in the Louisville Orchestra here, and we do have, which is an awesome orchestra, right? Absolutely, and so there's several, you know, people who have come up to the table who've been members of the Louisville Orchestra. I think they are wonderful, and I love music of all kinds, obviously. I was a miserable violin player. And thankfully, my son is a much better violin player than I ever even dreamed of being. So, what's some questions? I would love to answer you some questions. I love the star field. You know, that's kind of sweet. That's nice.
So we have a microphone right over there. So if we want to start forming a line, no pushing, no shoving. How you doing?
Good. You directed the episode Genesis, where the crews start to devolve.
Yep.
What are some things that you would have that were in the script but didn't make the final cut that you really would love to see come on screen?
Well, there was one I got into big trouble for, ultimately. What I thought was amazing was that it was the first time we would see this pristine spaceship dirty. I thought that would be a jarring thing. So I actually got a bunch of little things changed, like Troy was supposed to be just like beautiful as always in a bubble bath. And I said, you know, we've seen that and it is awesome, and it would be really creepy to see her in a spacesuit with hair molted off, right? So there were things like that that they allowed me to do, and they went with those ideas, and I thought they were really scary. Like, I thought that to have her head come up like that. But they had in the script that there were all sorts of like droppings on the floor of different creatures, and when, you know, and when Picard comes back and different Data's coming back, and I thought you would know something is going on, and it didn't have to look like anything in particular, but it looked like stuff, and I didn't know that the studio was never going to ever show that, so I kept saying, no, we almost have it. I wanted it to be Data was there and we just pan the camera down and then come back up, like, because he would look down and he actually said something about it. But they didn't want to see it, but nobody told me that they didn't want to see it. So I thought it was a really cool shot, but they never intended to show that. So I wish they'd just taken it out of the script, but that was one thing. But I loved how Michael Westmore's makeup on that episode, he did a brilliant job, and he wanted that episode to be nominated for an Emmy for his work on makeup because he felt it was like the best he had done. His the spider and you know, Jonathan's makeup and everybody's was so incredible. But yeah, I loved working on that. That was really a lot of fun. Thank you for asking. Hello.
Anne from Michigan.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm from Ohio. Buckeye forever. Yeah, all right.
Sorry.
Okay. And what is your question?
Listen, I love Star Trek, but
Okay.
when we were watching the making of Labyrinth,
Uh-huh.
wow, did not know. Any fun things that happened on the?
Any fun things? Yeah, and there were some non-fun things. There were a lot of things that happened. That was a year of my life, just about. I was director of choreography and puppet movement on a film called Labyrinth by Jim Henson. And I worked with, parts I did where I worked with Hoggle for a long, long time. She was Sherry Weiser, who was a dwarf who had tiny, tiny hands, and Hoggle, the character she was playing, for example, had huge hands. We had to build up her strength and get it so she could do stuff, and it was heavy, what she had to wear. And we developed the limp. You know, we did certain things that we wanted Hoggle to do, so we worked together, and then she would have to, with this big thing on and she could barely see, we'd have to choreograph all the movements. And then Ludo, again, I worked with him, Ron Muick, who's also now an unbelievable sculptor. But he did Ludo, and then I worked with the Goblins for all of their stuff. And then I had to work with David Bowie. I know, well, you know, you can't have everything you want. He was so awesome. He was so awesome. What an amazing, amazing man. So that was great. And Jennifer Connelly was 14 years old. And so I worked with her on some acting stuff. And then obviously the ballroom scene was a huge, huge scene.
Beautiful.
Yeah, thank you so much. So yeah, it was a lot of work, and I had never quite done all of the puppet stuff and everything, and I had choreographed a lot for theater, but I had not choreographed for film. I had done one thing for Jim Henson, a movie called Dream Child. Gavin Miller was the director, super, super director, and I actually adore the film. Peter Gallagher, Jane Asher, Ian Holm, one of my favorite actors, Ian Holm, and that was about Alice in Wonderland. If you ever can catch that, it's an amazing movie, and I did I was I think it was the one Jim wanted to test me on, because literally we fly together to London, he takes me to the studio and he introduces me and he goes, okay, this is your thing, I'll see you in a week. And literally we did all the rehearsals and everything, and the day we start shooting with the Mad Hatter, at that time it was state of the art for you better just to talk like this. Can you still hear me? No. Not really. Just kidding. So the animatronics on it were state of the art, but compared to what they have now, they were retro. And the day we did the Mad Hatter, who had 7 people working the face. I had a live British actor doing the voice on set, and there were people, a dwarf was doing the hands, and his head was here, and he was wearing the Mad Hatter. And there were 3 people working the mouth, the jaw, and 2 people working the eyes. I mean, it was like this team for one character. And the Mad Hatter broke down just as we started shooting, and so it was like we were trying to piece it together to make it work. But that was my test, and then I ended up doing Labyrinth, which started filming, I think, a few months later.
Very cool, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. Yeah. Speak it up.
I am a big Star Trek fan of the original, I mean, and all, but the Next Generation was so great. The rest I've kind of lost, but Next Generation did so wonderful. My question is, were you a Star Trek fan? Did you think it was on, or was it just something you liked into that you were like, it's an acting job?
You know, I was really one of those in the cast. I had really never watched one episode. I was in New York, and I don't think I had a TV, frankly. I'm not sure about that, but I had seen the iconic posters of Spock. I knew who the crew was, okay, because they were on posters all over the city when you'd walk around. But I had never watched a full episode of it. And I thought it was very funny, the little glibbits I'd seen, but I didn't understand the whole prime directive and the philosophy and really how amazing the vision of Gene Roddenberry was. So I had no clue, and it was a fluke that I took the audition. I had come out to LA to test for another movie, and then on my way to the airport, I called my agent and said, yeah, okay, it went well, and I was doing a play in New York, so I had to go back that night. She, however, was a massive Star Trek fan, and so she said, they're doing a new Star Trek. And I went, oh, great. And she said, no, I can get you in. And I said, well, that's okay, I'm on my way to the airport. No, you've got to do this. For me, you've got to do this. This is my, and she really was like, you've got to. And I said, well, okay, what's the character? She said, I don't know, but you've got to go. They said they want to see you. And so I went there, and I walked into the office. No one else was there. That does not happen in most auditions. Usually you see 5 million people who look just like you, are more talented, and they're sitting out there, and you're like, oh God, I guess I'm glad I worked on that for 3 days. And so no one was there, and there were 3 parts, women parts. It was Troy, Tasha, and Dr. Crusher. And I said to them, which part do you want me to read? And they said, oh, the producer said just do any part you want. So I looked at the 3 parts, I read through them all, and Dr. Crusher was the scene from The Naked Now, which is when she's on the virus and she's coming on to Captain Picard. And I thought, oh great, she's the comic character. That's what I thought, that's how stupid I was, okay? That was Dr. Crusher's only comic scene in like 7 seasons, I think, but I did a damn good audition with it because it was such a fun scene. So I came in and I did that and that was it, you know? And I ended up actually turning it down when they asked me to do it because I had been working for a long time on this other part that was a theater piece that paid nothing. That's part of who I am, I'm telling you, it's sad. So I took that job and turned down Star Trek. And luckily they came back a couple times and they made it so I could do the play and they would fly me to shoot and it was incredible. But boy, am I glad I took that job because it's changed my life and I now can afford a house. I mean, it's amazing. But I love the fans and I love meeting people and honestly, it truly moves me to meet generations who have all watched Star Trek together. I find that so awesome and cool, you know?
Right, absolutely.
And the fact that we, not me, obviously it's the whole Michigas, it's the writers, it's how they all put it together, but we do need role models. Young people need role models, and man, if we can, any of us can be role models, right on, because I think actually the Prime Directive versus the Hippocratic Oath and those things, I thought it was really smart, really intelligent show. So I'm very, very proud to have been a part of it and honored to meet fans, really. You guys are the reason we're here, really. Next question. Oh, they're leaving. See, they didn't like that one. But you were the fans I liked the most. It was you two were the reason. Okay.
Hello.
Hi.
If Dr. Crusher were a student at Hogwarts, what house would she be sorted into?
Well, you know, I mean, let's put it this way. Dr. Crusher had one offspring named Wesley, who, you know, was the most brilliant, right? Saved our ass how many times when the ship was in trouble, okay? A genius, and I mean, she did raise him, right? And so I would have to say, obviously Hermione's, you know, it would have to be in that house because, I mean, you know, she's probably close friends with Hermione, right? Yeah. Don't you think? I think so, yeah.
And then what house would you put yourself into?
Well, I'd be with hers. I'd be in, what's it? Gryffindor, thank you very much. And you know, I'd wear those scarves, although I did like some of the other scarves better, but I think Gryffindor's the one. What would you be in?
Ravenclaw.
And why?
Because of the creativity aspect.
Okay, all right. I'm kind of just dull, so I would probably just stay with that and then just stick close to Hermione. Yeah. All right, take care. Hello.
Hello.
There we go. The episode was one they put,
Remember Me.
Yes, where they put Beverly Crusher front and center for that whole episode. What was that experience carrying an entire episode, and was that something you campaigned for them to do to give Beverly her due, or something they came to you with?
No. That I learned very, very soon. You keep your mouth shut, because I made the mistake of saying, "Gee, I think that's racist," or "Hey, that's pretty sexist," and oh boy.
I mean, you only missed one season.
Yeah, that's true. But anyway, no, that was just a script that I read, and I thought it was really a cool script. It was very Twilight Zone-y, sort of, you know, I liked it. And I did have one of the best lines ever written, which is, there's nothing wrong with me, so there must be something wrong with the universe. Kind of like, that's pretty sweet. I love that line. And it was really funny, and you know, several people have written me, not recently, this was quite a while ago, women who were doing women's studies and different things, and they'd say, one thing about Star Trek, even when Beverly kept saying to like Picard, you know, there used to be more people on the ship, and isn't it weird that it would be just you and me on this entire spaceship, because people had been disappearing, if you haven't seen that episode. And they never questioned her as just being, you know, a lunatic or crazy, and nobody was patronizing and said, no, Bev, it's okay, honey, go to the kitchen. Nobody did that. They went, well, I don't think there were, but we'll check. We'll do a new thing. And the respect that everyone gave everyone in the crew is something really admirable, I think. And you don't see as much of it today. That's an understatement. But, you know, really, I think that's the part of the show that I really feel that was the message. You could disagree with people. There was no easy solution. Life is ambiguous and you can be ambivalent about things, but the show would make you think, and that to me is what we all need to do. And it takes effort to think. It actually, we go, oh, just tell me which one is best. No, you really have to explore and make your own mind up, and you have to be responsible and participate. And I think that's the part of Star Trek in terms of the philosophy and different things about it that was very admirable, and I really recommend we all keep trying to emulate that philosophy.
Well, having been to several cons, I think you guys are one of the coolest casts ever, and I think you are absolutely gorgeous.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
And I think what you said is one of the reasons why the show and the fandom has such a longevity.
Yeah, I think so, absolutely. There's no, like, you can have the planet of the people who are the addicts, and the people who are the suppliers are from another planet, and you can discuss it. And the issues are issues that we're still working with. You know, you can read medieval history and see that we're just doing cyclical things. We're just repeating the worst and hopefully occasionally the best of history. We just don't seem to learn. And so yeah, I think it's great to be involved in a show like Star Trek. And I didn't get it. It took me I think it took me years to really get the impact of it. When you start to meet people who have gone in and become doctors or geologists or engineers because of people they watched on a TV show, and they seem to have great integrity, we're kind of like blown away by them, by you guys, you know, and people who've had to endure so many operations for different things because they stepped on a landmine or something, and it's really moving. Actually, this is funny. I just had I had a fractured collarbone, so I'm more bionic than Brent Spiner now, because, yeah, I know. But I was in the hospital, and I woke up in the morning, and Star Trek was on, I swear to God, it was on the television. And I'm like, okay, are they putting me on, and they didn't have a clue. They were like, oh no, I don't know who this gray-haired lady is, but you know. But there it was, and I thought, people have been saying when they're in the hospital, they watch it and it gives them hope, and you know, it gave me hope. I went, that Dr. Crusher is right. She's so smart. Hi.
Hello. Soon after the second season, did you know that you were coming back?
I was in New York doing a play, and I think I did a film. I didn't know until, I don't know, probably 2 months before or 3 months before. I mean, the thing is Patrick had called me, darling. You know, it just hasn't been the same. What do you think of coming back? And then Rick Berman called me, and then finally I got the offer. So I didn't know, actually, at the time, what I wanted to do. It took, you know, but I loved my castmates. We had such a blast. So it was a good choice to come back.
That was kind of my question, but my second question is...
You can ask it again, I'll do it better. Okay.
Well,
I'm an actor, I can do that.
My original question was,
Yeah.
did you want to touch upon a little bit about what happened there and how Dr. Pulaski came in and then you came back, or? is that
Well,
something-
basically I was let go. I was fired. I had had a contract that, you know, they lock you into for 7 years usually, but look, I had been an assistant professor at universities. I had had an academic career of quite a few years on drama faculties of really good universities and graduate programs. And I was used to everybody could speak up because it was for the good of something. Like if someone was doing a production and we could say, I don't think that moment works, and nobody took personal offense, you know. We'd go, oh really, so what do you think? But you don't do that in Hollywood, and I was a New Yorker. So I came out and I think there was much more diplomatic way to have said the things that I said. I just said what, you know, I think this is sexist, I think this is this, and I don't know whether people just think I'm intense or what it is, but for some reason there was one producer who really did not like me, and he said either she goes or I go. And I knew my character was really popular. I knew that. I was like the third most popular character when we started the first season. And so it was that, and nobody would say that, but I was devastated when they let me go. It was really hard. I felt, oh my God, I've failed, you know, what did I do? I didn't mean, but then there were other opportunities, and I think it's like, that's what life is about. We don't always get what we want. We don't know that we're making this person upset or whatever, and you learn. And I didn't beg to come back. I kind of was like doing fine, things were happening, but the universe put that out, and they asked me back, and so you do things like, okay, yeah, I got a second chance. So there you are. That's really what it is. And then they fired him. He wasn't there.
The episode Sub Rosa, that's the one where you start to fall in love with a ghost-like alien. Before you filmed that episode, did you by any chance read or listen to ghost stories to sort of play that character, to play that part better, or did you really just wing it?
I did more than wing it, but I'm a professional, okay? But I did sort of go in the 7th season, wait a minute, what? Beverly Crusher's whole family has been in love with a lamp spirit for how many decades? I mean, you know, it was kind of like, I was like, I hadn't really been basing my character on that. Because it was a strange thing. I mean, he was a good-looking ghost spirit, but it was a little weird with the lamp, okay, that he lived in a lamp. But, you know, it was fun to get out of the uniform and wear these wonderful Scottish clothes. And I was working with Jonathan again. He directed most of my episodes where it was me. And so it was fun and wacky, and I got to wear green contacts, so I sympathized with Brent, and he said, yeah, but you didn't have powder like I had gold powder. And I went, no, okay, you win, okay. But yeah, it was fun. But it was a strange non-Star Trek episode as far as I was concerned. But, you know, people either liked it or they didn't. Did you like it, or?
I loved
Oh,
it.
great, well, good, awesome, thanks. Yeah. One person clapped on that, okay.
Hi.
Hi.
So we all know you as Dr. Crusher, and I love you because the character you played as Dr. Crusher has spoken volumes to me, both as an inspirational character and the integrity that you bring to the set. I gotta ask, what has been the most memorable moment or just part of the entire TNG series, because you played it well?
Thank you so much. That's really sweet. You know, it's very, very hard to pick a moment, folks. I would say I always loved doing the comedy, any little tiny bits, I always loved that. I loved doing my scenes with Patrick. They were really fun, and then they'd end up cutting out a lot of the little touchy things we did, and it wouldn't be that you know, whatever. But we had fun, and I would say, though, if I had to pick one moment that was unbelievable and I will just never forget, I think it was after I had done the surgery, and then I put my hand right there and said to the cat spot, Are you okay? Nice kitty, nice kitty. I think that just thing's so powerful tonight. That relationship with Spot, you know what I'm saying? No, there's just not one moment. There really isn't. There's so many moments, and I know at the end, our last shooting day was pretty intense and wonderful. And playing the poker game again, we get along really well, so it was really nice.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you like the other Star Trek series?
Yes, I do. Do you?
Yes.
Which other ones in particular do you like?
Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Terrific. That's a great show. Now, what's your name?
Grant Adams.
Grant. Great. And how old are you, Grant?
11.
11? You're not driving a car yet, though, right? You are? That's against the law, Grant. You better... Oh, but... No, wait. So you're 11, okay? And what do you like to do besides watch Star Trek?
Draw and read.
Fantastic. That's great. What do you draw when you draw? That's all right. Don't worry about it. That's okay. Mom's doing a little coaching there. I can see that. But listen, Grant, don't worry about it. So Grant, who's your favorite? I won't be offended. I might cry, but I won't be offended. Do you like Data?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty good character, isn't it? Now, do you like Discovery? That's a new Star Trek show. No coaching, Mom. That's okay. You don't know it, maybe. Yeah, that's all right.
I don't know it.
Yeah, that's all right. Oh, yeah. Just be honest. That's always the best way, Grant. Because you're awesome. I can tell. I can tell. Well, I really thank you for coming to this con, Grant. And I hope you continue drawing and watching all the Star Trek shows. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Go boldly, dude. Okay.
Are you going to be in Star Trek Picard?
You know, they haven't asked me, so at this point I can say no, you know. Yeah?
It would be cool.
Well, it could be cool. Thanks.
That young man took my question, but I just wanted to say I've always enjoyed all the Star Treks. We watched all of your shows, and thank you for your performances.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for watching, okay? Thank you very much.
Pleasure to meet you. I was just wondering, was the uniform that you guys had to wear for TNG, was that like pretty comfortable, or was that tough to work with?
Well, I had done a lot of dance in my life, so I was used to sort of being in tights and leotards, but this spandex is a particular fabric. So we would get to the studio and it would be icy cold. And it is whatever temperature it is outside, it magnifies it. So if you're cold, it's like ice. If you're in the desert shooting, it's like a gajillion degrees. So they weren't particularly comfortable that way, but like the other suit that they had Pulaski in, and they tried to put me in, I'm allergic to wool, and I really couldn't, I couldn't deal with that. So I would rather have the spandex than the other. But I liked our uniforms a lot once we got to like first contact. I thought those were awesome. Yeah. Okay, thank you. All right. Oh, back for more. All right, hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, I think about maybe 10 years ago or so, you guest starred as yourself in an episode of Family Guy. Would you by any chance like to star in Seth MacFarlane's The Orville, and what's it like working with Seth?
Well, I think Seth is a star, so I don't think I'd like to star in it. I think that would be a problem right there. No, I think he's got, it's a great show, and I think it really has a lot of the true Star Trek philosophy and stuff, and it's funny, and yeah, it'd be really a blast to do something there. Okay? Yeah, thanks.
Hello.
Hello.
Did you keep any mementos from the set, like your tricorder or anything like that? Any treasures?
My uniform? We all took uniforms, pretty much, except for maybe Patrick didn't. But some people took more than one uniform. But I took one uniform, and I took some comm badges at different times. But usually it was because I did it by mistake. Like, you would take off the con badge or forget to put it on, and then it would just, I'd put it in my coat that kept me warm on the set, and I'd come home and I'd have a con badge. So it was kind of like that. The only thing I deliberately took, I think, well, no, there was a poster that I asked the art director if I could have at some point that was on a wall on a planet. I think it was the one, the high ground. I think that's the planet, yeah.
And there was always a big debate. Was the tricorder like a AA or 9 volts or what?
Gee, I don't know, but I'll tell you about the tricorder. When I was doing it in the beginning, it was really hard. They had this tiny little thing. They didn't want it to show on the camera where I actually made it turn on, because we, as actors, had to actually turn the light on. And if you were saying technobabble at the same time and there's a patient on the thing, sometimes you'd shoot the whole scene, they'd say, we have to retake it because your battery went, you know, it didn't flick on. And you're like, wait. So that's the trickiest part, was doing that. Or sometimes you couldn't get it out and it would fling across the set. But I was the prop queen on the show, definitely. I had so many props, always. But yeah, I don't know what the battery size was. I don't think it was anything particularly amazing. I think it was probably, you know, AAA or something like that.
Thank you.
And you're Bosnia. Now, you're the one who brought me my, okay. This gentleman had a picture he showed me at my table of him and me in Bosnia. Wow. He was a soldier. What was your branch? Army?
1st Armored Division Band.
Okay, there you go. That's what I was going to say. 1st Armored Division Band. Right? But it was cool because it was called Operation Endeavor. And that to me actually was pretty Star Trek in theme, because it was people from all, it was the forces, joint forces from Finland, from France, from England, and people were going to try to stop the Serbian and Bosnian conflict. Better late than never on that, but, and they had asked me, the USO, to do it, and I thought they had asked me, the whole cast was going to come. And when I saw at Christmas time, they showed the first troops had come in, and they'd set up their tents, and they got the banks of the river overflowed, and icy water. It was really cold. And these poor guys in the middle of the night, it was like all this water rose up, and I felt so badly for them. And so I said, you know, it's the least I can do. Those guys are over there doing something I really believe in. It's wonderful. And so I went to Bosnia, and I get there, and I'm the first person to actually go into Bosnia. Like Jay Leno had done a show at the base in Germany. And I said, you mean I'm the only one? What am I going to do? And they were like, yeah, you have 9 shows a day. I'm like, 9 shows a day? And I was freaked, because I was like, okay. So I had to put on the bulletproof vest. They were 80 pounds on them all the time. I think they had me down to 60 or 65 pounds I wore. And I had the military boots and the whole thing. And there were snipers around, so they had sandbags. They were really cautious, and I got to be in the General's Black Hawk helicopter with 2 Apache helicopter escorts with guns. And I'm starting to go, wow, maybe this is a little more dangerous than I thought. I think my son was only about 1.5 years or 2 or something at that time. But it ended up being a life-changing experience for me. I was blown away by the dedication of the young men and women who were in the armed services. And it started off, and they all ate the meals. What are they? The
MREs.
MREs. So we'd get these packets. They were horrible. And you go like this, and it warms it up. I don't want to know the chemicals that were in it, okay? And, you know, the first day, I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to get through the week? By the last day, I'm like, oh, I got the chicken, oh God! You know, like so excited. And, you know, they'd have maybe an apple. These guys did not. It was tough. They hadn't set up a big canteen. Nobody had any of that. And the one place that really blew my mind, because it was my birthday, and so I went to this one place that was just this awful concrete factory. And I walked in, just literally, I remember, because I have a picture of me with pussy willows growing in spring, and it was just kind of a lot of devastation. And I walked through it, and as soon as you walk in the door, you're in someone's tent. And they had set all the tents up, like just exactly together. And so I'm walking through people's tents, and all of a sudden it clears, and there's this space that they kept so that they could have basketball and they could do different things. And I walked out, and they started playing the Star Trek theme. I started crying. It was just like, whoa, it was so moving, and then they played Happy Birthday. I mean, it was really amazing. Just the whole thing. I was very humbled by it, actually, but I got to ride in a tank. And then they'd put these big guns, and I see how seductive it all is, too. I was like, you know? And we went to Checkpoint Charlie, and we go to Checkpoint Charlie, and there was a checkered tablecloth that looked like something William Holden was gonna act in a scene with me. I mean, I was like, it was really amazing. But guys who had never seen Star Trek, never ever seen Star Trek, would stand in line in cold weather, we're talking really cold, and they'd come up and they'd say, "Hi ma'am, I have never watched the show, I don't really know who you are, but I just really want to thank you for coming out here." It's like so moving. And they say, "Thank you, it means so much that someone would take the time to come out." And that's just like, that was mind-blowing to me, that, because it was like, he was like a kid. He was like in his 20s, you know? And people gave me all these medals, and I didn't even understand how wonderful it is to be given these medals in a little tiny ceremony. I still have them. I have all of my medals that I got from Bosnia. It really taught me, I think every 14-year-old in this country should go for a week to observe in the military. I swear it would. It's not about the politics of war. It's just about learning how when people, if we could work together, we could do good things, and it doesn't always have to be with guns, right? Anyway.
You showed us some Star Trek.
And we both looked so young in that photo. Oh, it was sweet. Anyway.
There's no I can top that. I talked to you briefly yesterday. Anyway, I also enjoyed your work in Hunt for Red October.
The walk across, yeah, thank you.
But I recognize you. And also in Mad About You.
Oh, thank you very much. Mad About You was fun.
So, all of them. So anyway, but the question I had was, do you have any projects coming up that we could look forward to, like a TV or movie or stage?
Well, I'm going to be remodeling my living room, and I really hope you're looking forward to that, because it's going to be a hell of a project, okay? I would. I definitely would take, I'm looking for electricians, plumbers, and drywallers today. That's why I'm here. No. Well, I did a movie, a short movie that I loved the part I played about 4 months ago called Finger. It's not out, it'll be out next year. But it's small, but I love the character. It's very, very Twilight Zone. Yeah. And it gets you to think as well. And you don't know what's happening, and it's very unexpected. So that I did, and then I have spent 3 months basically dealing with my injury, and I'm just going to start rehab. So that's kind of where I am, and so I don't have anything coming up right away. I do have something special. I don't know. I could share it with you all. I have Thanksgiving coming up, and then I have Christmas coming up too. So there's things, right?
Well, have a quick and speedy recovery, and good luck with your house.
Well, thank you very much. Back again. I'm going to start asking him questions soon.
Well, you found a workaround to the 2, 3, 4 part question. If you just get back in line.
That's right. That's right. You can always break rules, it seems. Okay. Yeah.
Actually, no, that because of Star Trek, you know, that you've probably gotten to travel all over the world, probably like Germany and London. I know. You know, Star Trek's quite popular in those countries. Is there some country that you'd really like to visit which you haven't been to yet?
Oh, sure, many. Some of them are not safe to visit now. I mean, there's many places that I would find fascinating. I haven't spent enough time in the Far East. I would love to visit China and Vietnam, Singapore. I'd love to go back and see more of Russia, not with Putin as the guide, but you know, there's so many places. I've seen a lot of Europe, and I actually live part-time, not part-time, I live occasionally, I have a vacation house in France, And I love it there. I speak the language and have a lot of friends there. And one of the reasons I wanted to go outside the country was because when I first started looking for a place that would sort of get me out of LA, I wanted a place that was just different, that wasn't quite like a big city. And so I looked at Martha's Vineyard, but then I noticed that everybody in line to buy coffee, they were all producers in New York and LA, and they were there in their big summer houses. And I thought, man, that's not really what I've been looking for. So I found, in a fluky way I won't bore you with, a place in France to rent in this area that I had always thought was beautiful. I had studied theater in Paris for a couple of years after college, okay? So I fell in love with France, and the biggest mentor in my life was probably a man named Jacques Lecoq. And so anyway, I wanted to see what this apartment was like and show my son, who I had forced to go to a bilingual school when he was in nursery school and kindergarten. And it's hard for little kids to learn more than one language, but it's so good if they can. And in fact, in Europe, kids learn 3 and 4 languages. It's actually a wonderful thing, and I think now Americans are doing it more, but for so when I was growing up, people in America are like, well, speak English, you know, that's it. And it's like, not really certainly not the Star Trek attitude. But, so I wanted to go there, and I found this little village, and I could let my 5-year-old go buy bread at the bakery, and I could give him money and know that he was safe. And he could play tag, and he would play tag for like 3 hours in the medieval little streets. Everybody knew he was there. Everyone knew we were the strangers in town. And I think he got the independence that a lot of kids who grow up in cities. I couldn't let him down the driveway in Los Angeles, or could you in New York. Big cities can be dangerous. They can be wonderful. The culture there is incredible. But it was really important to me that that my son see that not everybody can afford computers, not everybody's doing things the way we do, and it doesn't mean that that's, you know, there is no best way. There are different ways of doing things. And that, for me at least, was a reason I could do it. I mean, people didn't know who I was. In fact, I walked in that very first year, this is true, walked in that very first year, and we're at the grocery store, and I look and I'm like, I can't believe it. There was a Star Trek pinball machine. And I'm like, oh my God, maybe they do know who it is. So I go over after I got my groceries, and I said, hi, so this is a Star Trek? Oh, I don't know what the hell it is. No, this is in French. He said, yeah, no, we thought it was Star Wars. So we're sending it back. If only I had said, I'll give you $5 for it, come on. But no, I didn't. So that to me was funny. And I mean, people, you're just a stranger because you weren't born in the village. That's the kind of thing it was. So you actually learn more about what it is to be American when you're not in America sometimes, because you see from other people taking a look at you and reacting to you. And it can be very, very useful. Okay, no, you don't have to clap, but I mean, oh, that was so pithy.
So I have a question before we wrap up here. And that Star Trek is a major fandom. Do you have any fandoms? What are you watching? What television shows, movies are you watching?
Well, having just had surgery, and I was told I couldn't even take it off at night. I had this big sling on. I caught up on everything that's out there. I mean, I've seen the good, bad, and the ugly. It's so much that it's like hard to remember. I like the 3rd season of The Crown. I like, obviously, Fleabag, unbelievable. I thought that was a riot. But I like things like Ozark. I like all kinds of stuff. And I also have been watching documentaries, and there are some amazing documentaries out there. There's a documentary called Rotten. Have you heard about this series? Really amazing. I thought, holy cow, I'm thrilled that they've put that out there. It really is something I recommend to all of you, like really. It was very informative, but there's many things. I don't like to watch like the stupid stuff of the like, reenactment stuff of murders and stuff. That's not my style. But yeah, there's so much good material out there. Good heavens, it's great. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you all for being so patient and coming out here today.
Yes, thank you, Louisville. Thank you, GalaxyCon.